it's Sammy Valentine here, and I'm going to show you how I make my covers. I don't know if anybody's actually interested in this, but I make them myself. So I figured I'd show people my process as an artiste. Now, keep in mind, I am not a professional. But I think, they're okay. I mean, and I'm doing new editions because the fifth anniversary of the Red Witch Chronicles, it has begun. And I'm creating new editions for all the books. So I figured I'd show a little bit of my process, how I do it. I think because of so much, what you would call it, so many people are very curious about that in the age of like AI. So I figured I'd give it a go and show you the fresh piece of humanity that I am and how that humanity is infused in all my work. So, okay, right here we see I use a tool called Affinity. I used to use a very free program named called GIMP, and you could tell that I had made my covers myself. Okay, so this is the paperback version of Down and Out Witch, which is a prequel novel. It shows kind of like summer adventures between Red and Vic as they're on the road before she goes to LA. So this is before any of like the romantic subplots get in. So if you're somebody who's like, boo, love. This is probably the one that you'll like the most. Now, one thing you'll note are all of the layers, like right over here in the corner, if you can see how I have a bunch of different layers for things. Because that's the secret to a good cover. You want to add some light and dimension. I also show this so people can tell that none of this is AI. I don't know why I'm concerned that anybody would think I have AI because that has never been an accusation put forth against me. And you want to know why? It's because there is so much authenticity, human wabi sabi in my work. By that I mean um definitely some typos, a real homemade flair in a lot of the things that I do. So let me show you. I use deposit photo and I find stock images. You can see all the various stock images that I've gotten. Some of them like I don't do anything with. Like I thought that this one would be good, but I don't know. There's something too much hair. I don't know what's going on there, but that was one that I got. And you have to make sure that you get the right kind of license for this. Now, if you're wondering how do I afford stock, the cool thing is that there is some sort of image pack that I've gotten, so I can just like download a bunch. And you'll notice that with this AI image generator, I've never used it. Just put in my credentials there. Mostly because AI, there's one, copyright issues. Of course, there's also very much people who dislike AI. There's a big vocal um uh group that's against it, which I completely understand. I also on a level don't like a lot of AI character generators because um there is there's an AI look, like there's a lack of dimension. You have to really use different Photoshops to really like, and different programs like that to make something happen. It's also really difficult for AI to make the same face over and over. And if you have a 9, 10, 15, whatever number of books in your series, you kind of like AI is not going to help you. My original books had character model by a program called by a company called Neostock, and it was Mandy the Demon Hunter, and I loved Mandy the Demon Hunter. Not everybody else did. Like I had one friend who was like, she looks old and worn out, and I'm like, I like that because that feels like a real demon huntery thing. But Mandy had like everybody was using Mandy back in the day. So I've decided to switch up the face. I don't know if I've chosen good face. The problem with stock and the limitation is that you're kind of left with who you can find that has a lot of pictures. I kind of like this lady. Because I think she's cute, but she also has a good mean mug, like when she has a lot of good expressions. She also can look kind of like angry, which I think is important for somebody who's doing a demon hunty thing. So the cool thing about deposit photo is that if you do find a model that you like, you can kind of source and see all the same people. So I found this lady, but sometimes they put in other people. Is this the same person? Oh yeah. Terrible vampire woman in red cloak. Yeah, cool. So I kind of have her saved. I think she's a decent face. My fiance is like, she looks angry and scary, and I'm like, yeah. Let's go with that. I haven't put her face on this one yet. I'm still deliberating. If you actually look at all the new covers, um, sometimes some of the faces are not quite. I think the first one that I did, it's not quite the same. Oh, I did try to put the same face, but I felt like it looked weird, so I took it off. Let me show you. Oh my God, I sound like a serial killer this whole month because I've been headhunting. So, I have somebody different. Um, Oh no, where's the other head that I put on? Yeah, so I put this face on because I saw her at first. My fiance was like, she doesn't look like a fighter, and I'm like, no, but she is cute. And I thought it was a good face, right hair, and stuff like that. So the faces on the covers are slightly, they're not all aligned because I couldn't find a really good enough face for this. And trying to fit the other lady's head wasn't quite working. But I think this is solid, particularly because the first book is kind of what sells the series. And not that I don't think that book readers are. It's not like I think everybody's like super shallow. But I have seen authors go for authenticity or realism or kind of going by what some readers loudly say or what seems to be an often parroted opinion that is not really backed up in the sales data. So what I mean by that is like, this is a good example. Okay, so I mostly lurk, and sometimes I do some promo. Sometimes I engage, but I know that with reader spaces, some readers are like, no, authors don't be here, which, completely valid. It might slow your roll or something like that. But I still lurk sometimes because it's a big group. And they do allow authors. I don't go into spaces where people are like, no authors allowed. I don't do that. I try to be considerate, but this one does welcome authors, so I do lurk. And there is this one post where this man author, and bless his heart, he was like, you know what, like, I've been really thinking about how, like, with this book and everything, like, I was inspired by body positivity, and I just had this idea about, like, this like non-typical urban fantasy, character, and I couldn't get her out of my mind. And I ended up writing this book about like this like normal woman who's a nurse who ends up developing these powers. And I really want like the cover to like, you know, show like, this is just like a normal woman. And I've read so many comments here where people are they don't want that like 22-year-old waif who is torn between her love for a sexy werewolf and a sexy vampire, whatever the deal is. And he's like, and I just had that in my head, so I wrote this. And this guy actually is like somebody who can make really good covers, and he does that for other people, I guess. And he made a cover of the character where she wasn't like the aspirational young, flowy hair, sort of wish fulfillment, self-insert sort of character. Like this character art looked like a nurse leaving work, kind of like not like uncombed or ungroomed, but like I mean my mom was like a nurse's assistant. So if you've ever seen nurses after a long shift, they kind of look like they did fight like some not everybody. Like you might be the nurse who walks out looking like a runway model, but depending on like the type of like environment you work in, you might leave your job as a nurse kind of having that like I just like fought like a grizzly bear kind of feeling. So, kind of like mussy hair a little bit, like it's a long shift, wearing scrubs, you know, like, kind of like, an overweight figure, maybe you could say. Not like ugly, like not like pug ugly. You're not like, ooh, look at this beast among us, but like not like your usual urban fantasy. Oh, I don't know how I'm so cute. I eat pizza and drink soda all day, but I just can't seem to gain weight. Oh, I don't wear makeup, but somehow I always just look so kissable. Like not like that kind of urban fantasy character. And like keep in mind, I'm in the same group. I've seen the same discussions from readers being like, I want to see normal women who aren't like 22 in a size zero, And this guy, bless his heart, in the way that I feel like only a man can. He delivered because he read and listened to the words, like the bare words, and he's like, I'm gonna like this is inspiring. I'm gonna do this. And he did. And the response was deafening boos. But like, how dare and like here's the thing. And I'm not saying this in like a shady mean way, but there were many people with their own profile pictures that were not dissimilar to this character art. And they were like, I hate this. What is this? What are you doing here? And like in a way, like just in that like that just classic male confusion. He's like, what are we talking about? I thought this is what people want. So like, and you've even seen this kind of like if you see art for like, plus size characters, like there's like like usually like a fashionista. It's not like, plus size girl on Laundry Day in the cover, you know what I mean? Even if in the book she might be described like that. So why I tell this story is that I feel like people say, like what people say they want and what people buy can be different when it comes to market the research in the market. So you always have to really think like, is this borne out by how people actually like pull out their wallet or their Kindle and actually buy? So sorry if that was a long story. But it's why, for me, in my heart of heart, if I was gonna do a character, then you can see with my last one, I chose like kind of like a broad who looks like, she'd get into a fight. But I have an understanding of what sells more. In fact, the character, the cover art that I'm most inspired by is by Deranged Doctor Designs. Now these covers cost a pretty penny. And they are beautiful and they sell. So I always try to like, before I start with this revamp, I kind of just like check this out, you know, um, just to kind of see what the style kind of is, get, make sure that I'm fitting into this. Now, in my, like, if I was gonna go by my preferences, I really, um, I'm not like super big on character covers. I honestly don't like a whole bunch of stuff on a cover, to be honest. Like if it was me and I was designing just for me, which would be a dumb idea because that's not what sells, like I would probably have like art that is like kind of more like a noir style and stuff like that, and like look like noir thrillers, but that would not sell because covers are a marketing thing. They're marketing, they're the branding, and each genre has different cues and clues that you need to look for. To make sure that readers understand what they're getting. There's different cues, whether you look at a military fantasy or, I mean, military sci-fi or paranormal romance or romantic comedies or whatever the thing is. Ooh, this series is a good series by Jana Ruth. Also, you might like this series. But anyway, these are sort of the gold standard that I can't personally like afford. But I try to like take my cues, I mean, one day if I win the lottery or rob a bank or it turns out I have like a mysteriously rich relative that gives me an inheritance. I think we do in the family. We do have like a rich person somewhere, but I didn't talk to my branch of the family tree. So, but this is kind of like um the style that I'm going for. So now you can see kind of the Uma. Now this font that you see a lot of them use, that is called Cinzel. I'm not like the biggest fan of Cinzel, and I resisted it with my original covers. Where can I find my original covers? So you can see what I stuck with. Okay, here's the latest book in my series, Witch Family Values. So I thought this was just like a more like gritty, fun sort of a font. It looked kind of like stenciled and stuff like that. And I had this little bar at the bottom. These books sold well enough, but it wasn't hitting the mark of this is urban fantasy. And this is kind of like reflecting like an older style from like 5 years ago. So you got to update with the times. And this is Mandy the Demon Hunter. I still like this head. I feel like she has good face, sassy attitude, but gotta move with the times. Actually, let me see. Am I actually showing what that looks like? Never mind. You couldn't even see this. Here you go. This is Mandy. This is the font that I used to use. Sassy Mandy. Another reason why I can't use Mandy, even though honestly I still would, is because the photography company that put out the stock of Mandy like just like kind of went belly up like a year or two ago. So I can't even find new Mandys. I have like a stockpile of heads, which makes me sound like I'm like fucking Hannibal or something, like Hannibal the Cannibal. But I'm gonna run out of Mandy heads. I think I already have. So I was like, okay, we need to find somebody new. I still kind of think that I want to put a Mandy head in this series, but like also like should I have continuity? Like, let me show you. Like, especially since sometimes it's hard to put the new face. I still don't know if that looks too weird. It really might. So what I have is Mandy, because I just like this, like for this book, I think this looks fine. I don't know if people will be distracted, like by having different faces on somebody of the book covers. Maybe they might, but I'm doing new covers for all of them. I particularly like this one. This is probably my favorite of the new covers because like I said, I don't like covers that have a bunch of shit everywhere, but that's what's popular. So this one I like because it's relatively sparse as they go. But yeah, some of the faces are slightly different, but they're all kind of the same thing. I like this because she's creepy. I'm not sure if I like that dude. I might change that guy. Um, but I figured I'd throw a dude in there. just, for texture in the background. But as you can see, one of the similarities between the old covers and the new covers is that I like to have a moon on each one. There's a magic thing. And then of course the character, and then we're gonna have Cinzel as the font, because that's the urban fantasy font. I try to make the W a little fancy. And you might have noticed that all the books have witch in the title. It's because and I've seen people test this to rousing failure, is that you really gotta like, if it was me, I would be like a fucking emo band, These would just be obscure, weird ass titles for everything. But on Kindle Unlimited, and I think in other bookstores, it's really important to like make it very clear this is a book about a witch. So each of the books has the word witch in it. The next cover I'm going to make is Small Town Witch. This is a fun book. I've recently reread all of my book series, all of the books in this series. I did one more editorial pass, which honest God, I could do a whole video on how difficult it is to find quality editing. And you know how they say about lawyers, like you should have a lawyer to watch your lawyer with your accountants, like have an accountant watch the accountant, and then have another accountant watch that accountant. You should have an editor watch your editor, because I have paid like, oh my God, I was particularly annoyed with this one because I paid somebody I paid a couple people very good money to dev edit proof, copy edit proof, blah blah blah. So these two books have the most complaints about the editing, and I spent the most amount of money on these. So I ended up reading through all of these books again, doing my own sort of like fixing and stuff like that, which is good. I mean, the other books, because I managed to get a team together that really did help. I actually got all the typos and blah, 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 blah. So it was very nice rereading all these books because I could enjoy the story without the embarrassment. I mean, and that's on me. The buck ends with me. But it's one of the challenges with editing your own stuff is that if you're writing a book and you've done your own editorial passes, of course, is that you've read these books like so many times to the point where you're almost not even reading the sentences anymore as you go through that because you can anticipate it. So with these, I had a good like 2 years since I had actually read through these again, because you'd read the books oftentimes before starting another one just to like pick up anything. So since it'd been a while, I was able to really catch a bunch of stuff because like I had like, forgotten things, and it wasn't like something that I seemed to have memorized. So that was good. All the books have new editorial passes. They're gonna get new covers. It's the 5th anniversary, baby. But my process when it comes to all of these books is that I start with, and I'll share let's see. Let me do it with, yeah, I'll do it with the Witch on the Run. Because I love you, Mandy. I know that others don't love your face, but I love your beautiful face. Okay, so we have Mandy right here. And as you can see, I like to start with first making the background. If I'm gonna like take all this stuff out, taking all the shit off of the stuff, taking out Mandy. Okay, so we start with this background. And for me, I do try to put some indications of the plot, but you can only do so much. Because you can't have the background so distracting that people don't see the title. And you can't like have it still needs to be readable in that thumbnail. So I start with this background. For this book, the character goes from LA to Las Vegas on the run. as in a sense, as the title suggests. So this blue side has LA, and I found this good stock photo. It actually has on this rail, if you could see it, it does say Los Angeles on the rail right there. But I have this building because there's a number of, vampires that essentially have their own buildings. As you do, you need a good urban villain lair. Like, what's the point of being immortal if you can't afford your own fucking lair? You know what I mean? Then we have the moon right up here. That helps signify also, ooh, it could be paranormal. And then since it's Las Vegas, we got that fabulous Las Vegas sign. And then we have sort of like the yellow and blue. There's not really like a symbol to the colors. I like having different strong, sort of contrasting colors for these books because that's what seems to be the style. It helps them kind of stand out also, I think, amongst the white. It also helps make the different books in the series look a little different. So we have that. And then you don't want the bottom to be overpowering the font and stuff like that. But I do like having a little bit of texture down there. So you see a rail. Now you need some magic stuff. So I have this instead of like in a lot of books she's like holding a fireball or some crap, but I have this just because this symbolizes the fact that there's like a portal thing going on. Not that you'd know that unless you read the book. Now we have the character. Now, as you can see in, or maybe you can't. Let me see if I can make, is there a way to make this bigger? You can see all of my layers right here. Like I have so many different things that I'm doing to make the body look defined and kind of cool, but you can't have the legs stick out so much because it's going to be bad for the font. And then I have another, I just duplicated the group. I try to keep things tidy, but I'm just inherently not. But I do keep the body stuff grouped together, all the body parts in my Frankenstein. And now you kind of want the lighting to make it look like she is part of this whole thing. So we have some blue. I do that by like putting some like a blue brush and then kind of blurring it out, but you kind of want some more. And then we just have the thing so you know which book. So we got some blue on the sword, make that define. We got some more blue right here. And then I kind of blur out some things. I go back and forth with blur, to be honest. Make it a little bit, you want to add some dimension. And then I have it where some of the blue goes over to really feel like she's like maybe coming out of the portal or something. Then we have the title and my name, in case you care. Then there is like a noise layer that's supposed to make this like look a little bit more cool. I feel like there's another sort of like thing maybe I'm missing. Oh, and then if you try to put the other face on, it looks real creepy. Man, to your face. But yeah, so those are sort of the layers. I start with the background, try to make that cool. I center the character figure and I try to integrate it into things. And then I try to do the magic. Sometimes I try to tell a story with the background and the cover to give a little bit of the story, but also try not to have that distract too much. And sometimes like simple is best. Like if you look at right here, like it's mostly just trying to be like dramatic, like magic. So you're like, this lady has magic. And then like a building, this kind of symbolizes one of the buildings, this nightclub in here, in the moon. But I'm also trying not to have like too much go on. This is the opening shot. And I have the sneakers on here. I thought that would be like, she's kind of like a casual, which I don't know if that works. Keep in mind, anytime I do something, I think, how do I just poke at this for a million years? And these original covers were kind of more of like, had a lot of teal. But then people were like, well, which called red? Shouldn't there be more red on the cover? So I did kind of teal and kind of this reddish color and stuff like that. So yeah, that is my thought process on my covers. This video is probably too long. And if you're still with me, kudos. If you're not, I apologize. But as you can see, my cover art and how I do this is very much a process. I go back and forth. This is not even the original face. There's another face that looked a little too much like those Jazz 3D figures. But yes, so we're kind of keeping this going. We're gonna well, I don't know why I said we. It's just me doing these, but my next one is going to be, like I said, oh, and I also have the box set. I did the box set because I just really like that figure. And I like that red smoke, but I did this kind of different. So this is, you can get the prequel novella, the first book, and the second book in one volume. And I have different other volumes in the series that you can get. But yeah, so everything's getting new covers. I figured I'd show this while I have all of this already like on the program, fresh in my mind. So each of the paperbacks, have the obviously like a book. They have the front and back. But yeah, if you have questions, comments, concerns, emotions about book covers and stuff like that. And keep in mind, I'm probably gonna slap a new face on that lady. I just haven't decided what face I want to give her, because the hunt for heads on deposit photo never ends. Like I bought so many, I'm gonna like cut off so many heads. Like I liked her head for a little bit, but I don't know. So yes. And we'll see. Like for me, like I said, I would not put figures on here because either you end up with a Daz figure where you have to like paint a shirt on this guy, or they don't look right, or you're like and character, you can commission character art. It can be difficult to find good artists. Also, having that copyright and making sure that you can negotiate, like, what if I sell X number of paperbacks in a year? It kind of gets more complicated. And then there's also like, at least for me, um, I like to modify and change things and then use the art in my marketing, and that's a whole nother negotiation. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but I just do my best, even though I usually feel like there's a lot of like pretty like women that you can find, but a lot of the dudes, when you're just looking for stock photography dudes, unless you're going to a romance specific stock photo site, and I believe there are some. I probably just need to like pony up the money. You just find like, you know, that's your average stock photography dude. Anyway, so that's my process. I will end this video now. Like I said, if you have questions, comments, concerns, emotions, let me know in the video comments. Maybe I will answer. Sometimes I forget to check these things. But hope you enjoyed this inside peek into at least one writer's world. And you might be wondering, do your favorite authors, I'm not going to be so proud as to think I'm your favorite author. You could be hate watching this for all I know. But do your favorite authors do this? Probably not, I mean, I know like Heather G. Harris, who's a very nice lady. She got the whole team. But when you're a one-man band like me, you're just wheeling and dealing out on these internet streets trying to put stuff together. Oh, now you see the whirlwind. You see how the magic happens. And I hope for any of you who, I don't know, forgot to put in your glasses and you looked at one of my covers, you're like, AI did it. You'll put the glasses on, you're like, oh, never mind. I was a very human woman who made that. Okay, guys, enjoy, like, share, subscribe, do that thing.